much fun to watch. It looks like our next round that we're going to see will be that losers round 4, Amanda.
Oh, that's going to be a very interesting one. I was saying earlier, I am just so impressed that WTM has been able to do so well with such a fun and interesting team. Again, for those of you that don't remember, he's got a Skarmory on that team, and I just think it's such a bold play when there's so many lanterns going around because Skarmory only has, you know, Sky Attack, Brave Bird. Maybe you would see a Flash Cannon.
I mean, it doesn't even stop there, right? Double, and what I remember the most, Shadow, Kanto, Ninetales, overheating a Swampert, just cooking it on the battlefield. I don't think anyone saw that coming.
That's very good. And we just, earlier in our little matchup, we saw Though Technical play against Scafo, and Scafo barely scraped by the skin of his teeth as well. So these are going to be very intense and very fun matches to watch.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how these trainers decide to deploy those strategies. We talked about this in the pre-show, right? Each region, each international championship gives us a chance to highlight how unique these team compositions are. I feel like in the North American region, we haven't had our international championship yet, but I feel like a lot of the teams are just hyper-optimized, right? You've got a lot of the same picks, a lot of the same choices. I really do think it's a special treat to come here to Europe and watch these trainers have fun, right? Play the Shadow Kanto Ninetales, play the Mew, play things that other trainers in other regions would say, oh, that would never work. And then you see our top 8, top 16. It's really, really amazing to watch.
I think that's also a good point because there are people who are still playing very what we call meta teams where, you know, we see a lot of the top 12 that are the top 12 for a reason. Like, let's be fair with that.
Sure.
However, they're not always the players who are going to be on top. So clearly the trainers who have been using these more unique picks, these spicy picks, have found a way around to outmaneuver the regular meta.
Yeah, I think there's a benefit and a detriment, right? Because you see a meta that's as condensed as we've had this season. The benefit is that it's not like a moving target, right? You can identify maybe 12 to 15 Pokemon that if you want to build your own Championship Series roster, you know what you need to catch, you know what you need to trade for the XL candies, etc. But at the same time, it can't feel like you're boxed in, right? There's only limited choices. You kind of can't avoid these triangles of alignment that can be so, so tough to work your way out of. But again, as a third point, some of these trainers find a way to break out and have fun at the same time.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. But I want to give some credit to North America as well, because you were saying that there's, you know, a really staple meta picks, but I remember someone winning with a Shadow Mawile, and we have not even seen one of those in the European regionals.
No, you're exactly right. Our two trainers here on the stage, no Shadow Mawiles to be seen, but a lot of fun regardless. WTM versus Scafo99. Can you walk us through these teams, please,
Yes.
Amanda?
So we have WTM on the left-hand side running a Swampert. Again, when we talk, we can't stop talking about it. That Shadow Kanto Ninetales, a Skarmory, Double, Altaria, and a Lickitung.
Scafo99 on the right side of your screen with Noctowl, Medicham, Shadow, Alolan, Ninetales, Shadow, Swampert, Trevenant, and the Registeel. Scafo's Swampert play has really been the biggest thing in my mind that has stuck out. He just seems like once he has energy on that Pokemon, he's virtually unstoppable.
Shadow Swampert seems to be really good in this meta, and if you look at WTMGo's team, the only thing that really counters it very hard is an Altaria.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. There's no grass-type charge attack or fast attack pressure on his team outside of the Lickitung, which, you know, you would think, right? Lickitung is so bulky, it can hang in that matchup. It can actually defeat the Swampert. It's very conditional.
It's conditional indeed, and I think 2 Hydro Cannons is almost enough depending on if it's a regular Lickitung. Maybe if it's a really good XL Pokemon Lickitung, it could be able to hang on, but those Hydro Cannons from a Shadow Swampert just hurt even one of the bulkiest Pokemon in the Great League.
Yeah, Lickitung always looks like it's ready for a snack, but those Hydro Cannons might be a little bit too much for it to swallow. That being said, our two trainers are getting queued up and ready to go here. Again, top trainers remaining. We're only going to have our champion battles on Sunday, so only a few trainers are going to make it out of this today.
That's absolutely correct. And again, we're down to, I believe, around 6 players left, so only a couple more matches and only guaranteed to be really fantastic games.
Oh, you already know you're in for a treat. I feel like each of these series is like a clinic. There's so many notes you can take, so many pointers, so many things that you can take and absorb and implement into your own gameplay, and we're definitely going to get more of that here as well. WTM running a much more unique team, Scafo99. I would love to see everybody watching at home make a prediction about which Pokemon is going to be the most impactful. If you had to choose, Amanda, do you think the Altaria is coming or the Skarmory? It sounds like you're leaning towards the Altaria.
I think the Altaria has much better matchups against Scafo's team, but even though I said that the Shadow Swampert was good, I'm also looking at that Medicham, and I think Medicham has an incredible amount of play as well.
No.
Really only having to fear that Skarmory, because I doubt that his has a dynamic punch on it, but even the ice punches can hit back to that Altaria.
Well, Medicham loves to see normal type Pokemon, and there are 2 there on WTM's side, and it's going to be really tough for both of those Pokemon to hang in there against a Medicham dealing super effective damage. I would love to see the Shadow Kanto Ninetales, especially if we see Scafo pivot more towards the Shadow Alola Ninetales, Trevenant, and Registeel. At that point, it's like a Shadow Kanto Ninetales buffet.
Yes, indeed, and looking at WTM's Shadow Ninetales, it looks really good, really only having to avoid that Shadow Swampert. But WTM, if you saw it earlier in the matchup, you say Shadow Swampert, what Shadow Swampert? I'm going to overheat it and forget that it's even there.
Heading into game number 1 here, WTM on the left side of your screen, Scafo99 on the right. Let's get into it.
And we are getting right into it. Again, this is the thing that we were fearing, the Altaria versus the Shadow Swampert. Scafo looks like he maybe wants to do a swap, an immediate swap into that Noctowl. And it looks like WTM is staying in for a little bit. But, you know, gonna go ahead and take it a little bit easy, charging up to this Moonblast, and now looks like it's going just way over energy.
Yeah, we see a little bit of pondering there by WTM, maybe not expecting the Noctowl safe switch, not sure what to do, but I do like this play to let it fire up the Sky Attack, maybe get a Sky Attack of your own, or just go into the Swampert, right? Because now the Noctowl does not have as much energy as it did prior. Still a little bit tricky for WTM though.
I think so, especially because Scafo has a lot of energy left on this Noctowl still. Going for a Sky Attack, it is going to put the Swampert into the yellow. Swampert almost up to 2 Hydro Cannons here, throwing 1 before it reaches 2. Scafo knows that this won't be enough at this point, choosing not to shield.
Again, not a Shadow Swampert. It needs 3 Hydro Cannons total. It won't be able to KO with the Mud Shots either, so WTM is kind of at risk of losing switch advantage here.
And losing a Swampert if he chooses not to shield, though he does choose to shield very last second. Going ahead, he knows that he's at the energy, charging up a little bit more. This is the thing where people have been losing count a lot, but WTM, his counting is right on point, knowing that it wins that charge attack priority there, throwing right before his Sky Attack goes in, and getting another shield from Scafo.
As we look at the back lines, the alignment can be so critical here. Shadow Kanto Ninetales versus Shadow Alola Ninetales. Sky Attack getting queued up by Scafo. Another shield deployed here. This might be the pivot point of this entire match.
WTM is already at Hydro Cannon, still charging up a lot more energy. And will we see all the Protect Shields used in this mid-game?
Another Hydro Cannon getting fired off. Noctowl deciding to shield, emptying the reserves. No more Protect Shields remaining. Trying to pace in the Sky Attack. It's a charge with priority. WTM is going to wrestle away control of alignment.
Oh my goodness, and you can tell that this was not the thing that Scafo was hoping to happen. Not only have you lost both shields, you have lost the middle game, and you have lost the alignment here. In comes the Shadow Alola Ninetales, only now to be met with that Kanto Ninetales.
Wow, we see the Swampert come out. Altaria comes out to meet it with the Moonblast. We're probably going to see a Moonblast and a Dragon Breath down because this Shadow Swampert does not have the Sludge Wave you mentioned earlier, Amanda. It only has access to the Hydro Cannon.
Yep, see, this is where I think it could potentially come into play. However, I think Scafo knows it as well, going ahead and not throwing. It looks like WTM is undercharging. It would still be enough at this stage to take it out.
In my mind, this becomes tricky because now you're going to give this Alola Ninetales so much energy with the Powder Snows. Altaria not dealing any damage with the Dragon Breaths. If Shadow Alola Ninetales is going to have a chance, this is it right here.
And this was a very good play, and I think WTM realized it just a second too late what the Scafo's plan was. But again, this Shadow Alola Ninetales has so much energy, throwing this Dazzling Gleam, and almost already up to another Powder Snow.
We're getting echoes of our World Championships here in London as we reach the Fire-type Weather Ball. Shadow Kanto Ninetales taking down Shadow Alola Ninetales for this Game 1 victory for WTM. That charge attack will connect.
These foxes are on fire. Both of them.
That's a big KO and a big Game 1 victory for WTM. Scafo a little bit out of position, unable to really wrestle back control after that tough lead, Altaria versus his Shadow Swampert.
Yep. I wonder for WTM side, if he's thinking that this is going to be the play overall. He recognizes how strong that Shadow Swampert's going to be, and so immediately recognizing it's probably going to be in the lead or as a safe swap. So Altaria in the lead was a perfect position.
I mean, it's really tough, right? You've got a 1 in 3 chance of predicting where that key Pokemon will appear. There's a 33% chance to guess right in the lead, and WTM did make the right call. Again, with all things Pokemon, you do need just a stroke, just a shooting star of luck to make those calls on alignments. Going into game number 2, does Scafo double down with the Swampert lead? Does WTM make the right call with the Altaria alignment again? Because as we talked about before the series began, it feels like WTM's options are limited. There's only a narrow window window in which to execute here.
But you know what? I've said this almost every time we've seen him on screen, or even when I'm watching him battle, and yet he continues to persevere. So he's obviously knows a little secret that he's not sharing with us, Speedy.
I think he's got good vibes and good energy, and it's helping him along the way. Going to game number 2, though, we've got Dubwool not making an appearance in game number 1. We didn't see the Skarmory either, but you made that call earlier saying Altaria was the better choice. Both of our trainers already locking in here.
Ooh, we're very excited about to get into the next matchup. Are you one of those people you think that he's going to double down and lead that Swampert again, or he's going to go with a completely different plan?
I think you stay with what works, but sometimes I'm wrong. Here comes Shadow Kanto Ninetales versus Noctowl.
Well, we've seen this earlier. Scafo's choosing to stay in for a little bit, gaining a little bit of energy. The overheat is going to be doing almost knocking out this Bird of the Sky, throwing the Sky Attack before he gets to this move. Should WTM choose to shield it up and save a little bit of health on this Ninetales? No, choosing to let that go down. I assume we'll charge up one more before throwing an immediate swap out into that Medicham.
Oh, and we see the counter swap into the Skarmory. Again, neutral counters versus that super effective Air Slash. Medicham, if it is given Protect Shields, can come out on top of this matchup. It just depends how many resources Scafo wants to commit to this Pokemon.
And WTM sort of reading Scafo like a book here. First time using Altaria into the lead, calling the lead once again, and also calling the safe swap of the Medicham. Met with one of Medicham's hardest counters on his team, basically the only hard counter on the team, and that is going to be the Skarmory.
No Protect Shield here from WTM. You need to start accounting for those counters. Going up for 2 more Air Slashes. Going to throw the Sky Attack right here. Does allow a counter to come through, but the double Sky Attacks will strip both of these Protect Shields if Scafo decides to do it. He does not. Medicham goes down.
And now I assume would... Actually, I don't even know what to assume at this point. We're going to have to wait and see what Scafo will choose to do here. 2 very healthy Pokemon in back, coming in, trying a very aggressive Mud Shot down, perhaps. And now we see WTM going for the huge Brave Bird nuke. Will Scafo call this? Because this will do so much damage. At the very last second, the Protect Shield goes up, protecting that Swampert. And now the Mud Shot farm down doesn't look so hard.
Yeah, that was a little bit ambitious there by WTM, trying to go for a knockout punch, but instead gets countered. In comes the Dubwool Hydro Cannon. Looks like it will connect against the normal type Pokemon here. This is tricky. This is anyone's game.
It's indeed anyone's game. There is a lot of energy left on that Swampert. Now, no energy left as he's choosing to throw this next Hydro Cannon, which is going to give the Protect Shield from WTM. We have to also remember, those Body Slams are going to be coming in fast.
And they do a lot of damage to the Shadow Swampert. Dubwool gathering some energy here. 2 double kicks going for the Body Slam. No Protect Shield. Scafo trusts his Swampert.
Yeah, the first one going through, indeed. He's already doing a little bit of counting, predicting what he wants to do next. I wonder, he knows he's going to reach another Hydro Cannon. This will be enough to knock out that Dubwool should WTMGo choose not to use the shield, and he doesn't, and this Dubwool will be going down.
This is going to come down to our lead situation. Noctowl, Shadow, Kanto, Ninetales going straight for the charge attack here. Scafo needs to make a decision. It's either yes or no. No shields to charge attack.
Wow, this is going to be huge. This is indeed the overheat. It is enough to knock out that Noctowl, and with so low health in the back, this Kanto Ninetales is a Swampert counter confirmed.
WTM Shadow Kanto Ninetales overheating everything in his path as he blazes his way into the next stage. WTM, so impressive thus far.
This is so crazy because, again, the Kanto Ninetales has a very predictable moveset in the fact that it's going to be either a Weather Ball or it's going to be the overheat. Now, the big problem is which one of it is it going to be?
It's like a coin flip decision, right? It's either yes or no. Scafo, unfortunately, not making the right shield call, and that is a huge, huge overheat to land into his Noctowl. What a devastating charge attack.
And this was so crazy. I mean, if you think about it, he also, WTM went for the Brave Bird earlier on the Skarmory, so he... And also in the last game when he was playing against a Swampert before, he also threw the overheat, so he is always going for those big moves, it seems.
I love it. I think it's so exciting, right? You want to apply pressure to your opponent, and sometimes it feels like it's easy. When you have that shield advantage, you can start to expect, right? The big charge attack is coming. My opponent will not let off the gas. But when you have even shields on an even field, and you're firing up those big charge attacks, that's really fun.
And you only have a small amount of time to decide if you're going to use that shield or not. And I think in Scafo's mind, he was thinking it's his only Pokemon left on the field. If he uses the overheat now, and I shield it, then the next moves are not going to be as effective, so it will not be good. I think it was, again, high risk, high reward scenario, and I am so impressed with WTM's play every single time. I'm like, I do not see how this team has been making it so far.
It's also the energy management, right? We saw WTM gather so many fire spins worth of energy. I think potentially, if he would have gone overheat and it was shielded, I think he probably would have reached another one as well. He was awfully close.
That is probably true, but again, since it lowers your attack, I don't know if a second overheat would be enough. Of course, it probably would have been enough. It is a shadow Pokemon, which does 20% more damage. However, Scafo might have been able to get to a move himself, and that could have been game over as well. Again, these matches are incredibly close. These were our top 6 players so far.
I think you made a great point earlier. You said that our trainer WTM keeps going for those hard-hitting charge attacks, the overheats on the Shadow Kids of Ninetales, the Brave Birds on the Skarmory. I think that those kind of tendencies, those habits start to show themselves over time. Maybe that reliance on Shadow Swampert was maybe the Achilles heel for Scafo because he wasn't able to get it started. He wasn't able to put it in a favorable position. And once his ace was not in play, he had a tough time.
I completely agree, but still, good games of Scafo. He made it incredibly far. I would love to take another look at the losers bracket just to see all the trainers' names that have been on there who have made it at least into the top 16, which is already a huge, huge achievement. These are some of the best players in Europe competing against each other here. WTMGo already into the losers semis.
Again, as the sun sets here in London, so does the journey end for a lot of the trainers that have tried to reach the peak in our European International